Good afternoon, Algebra 1. We're going to be talking about simplifying equations. Yes, we did start this lesson in class. I believe it was like the last 5 minutes, but I wanted just to go over it one last little time to make sure you kind of have the process in your head, and that way tomorrow will go much smoother. All right, so now remember what I told you, simplifying equations. What makes us equations is that all of this, right, all of these variables and numbers or variables and coefficients are equal to a specific number, which means that we are going to have an answer that will read a variable, right, variable equals a specific answer or number. So remember, that is our golden pattern. Variable on the left, answer on the right. An example of that, just in case you've forgotten, would be, for instance, x equals 4. Alrighty, so that's an example. So we're going to have an answer just like this. Now, because remember before, we would have the 2x plus the x minus 5. We would have something like that. We would work it out, and we would leave it unsolved. But this time, we now get to solve it. Alrighty, so I'll keep that pattern there just so it can stay kind of burned in our brains. Alright, so let's go ahead and begin working on this. So notice we have a set of parentheses, and we need to make sure that we don't need to do anything in these parentheses or multiply anything to the parentheses. And as you can see, there's no number out here. There's just a positive sign. So we can drop those parentheses. Alright, so I'm just going to rewrite it without the parentheses. So I have 2x plus x minus 5 equals negative 29. All right, so first things first, we always do is to put in order. Put everything in order. Thankfully, this problem is already in order. We have our x's together. We have our number. This is just a single number by itself. We have a single number by itself. So we're good. All right, now we are going to solve. So step 2. Or I can actually use the word combine. Combine like terms. All right, so now you notice we have a variable of an x and a variable of an x. Well, we can combine those. So we know that the number that's in front of this x who's by himself is really a 1. All right, it's really like having an imaginary 1 there. So I can say, well, what is 2 plus 1? Well, that's 3. And of course, those x's, it's just plain x. Alrighty, so 2x plus 1x gives us 3x. Bring down my minus 5. And then bring down my equal sign and my minus 21 or negative 20, negative 29. Alright, so now this looks like our usual two-step, right? Two-step equation. So we're going to use our two-step equation process. Okay, so our first question for this two-step equation was, remember we asked the question, well, who moves? Which number needs to get out of the way? Alrighty. Now remember our pattern is have variable on the left, answer on the right. Well, this is a variable, and so he's going to stay right there. The x itself is going to stay, but that 3, that's a number. He needs to move, so we'll say 3 needs to move. Then this 5, he's on the wrong side because this is our variable side. So he also needs to move. And it's not just a 5, it's actually a negative 5, but we could just write 5 for right now. Alrighty, now then we ask ourselves the question, well, what is the operation attached to both of those numbers? Well, the operation for the 5, that's subtraction. The operation for the 3, well, that's multiplication. And then we ask ourselves, well, what is the inverse? The inverse of multiplication is division. The inverse of subtraction is addition. Now, we know that the first guy who moves is the man, or not the man, but the number that is unattached, meaning the number that doesn't have a variable. Negative 5 is the only one that doesn't have a variable that is on this left side. So I'm going to do the inverse, which is addition. So I'm going to add 5, and remember to do this on both sides. So these two cancel out, and I'm going to be left with 3 times x equals, and now we work this out. What is 29 a negative 29 plus 5? All right, so in this case, mixed signs, we're going to subtract. So basically we're saying what's 29 minus 5, and that gives us a whopping 24. And the answer is going to be negative because the 29 is the largest. All right, now the 3, we know that the 3 needs to be divided. All right, so I'm going to divide this side by 3, divide that side by 3, and I'm going to have an answer that says x equals, and 24 or negative 24 divided by 3 gives us a negative 8. Alrighty, that's how we do that. Now let's try it again on this big old whopper. Alright, so remember our pattern. Our pattern is variables on the left, answer on the right. Now notice we have parentheses again. So we need to pay close attention and make sure there's nothing we need to do those parentheses. Well, we cannot work out the numbers on the inside, right? That's a Q that doesn't have a variable. We can't combine them. But now you do see this negative. This negative represents a negative 1. Alrighty? And we know that if we multiply by a negative 1, it can change our answers, or at least change some of our numbers. So we need to distribute that negative into our parentheses. Alright, so when I rewrite it, let me get rid of that little 1. He's kind of in the way at this point. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this problem once I have distributed in my negative. So I'm saying negative 1 times 5 cubed gives me negative 5q. Negative 1 times a positive 12 gives me negative 12. Alrighty. Now, if you notice, over here, we don't have a negative on the outside, but we have a 3 that needs to be multiplied to the contents inside of parentheses. So I have a 3 times 2q, which gives me 6q, and then 3 times a negative 7, which gives me negative 21. So this is my entire problem. All right, so notice we had a little bit of work to do first, okay? But that's okay. We have it now. All right, so here we go. So step 1, we need to put everything in order. So I'm going to put all of my variables together. So 6q, my negative 5q. All right, then we'll put all my whole numbers together. So negative 12, negative 21, of course the equal sign, and a negative 14. All right, so let's work this out. So next, step 2, we combine like terms. All right, so what is 6q minus 5q? Well, that simply gives us 1q. We could just leave it as a q. So we have 1q, and I'm going to use the cursive q to make it look not like a 9. Alrighty, and I'm going to say, okay, what's negative 12 minus 21? Well, they're both the same sign, so we need to simply add them together, which will give us a negative 33 equals negative 14. All right, now we need to ask ourselves the question is, now we have our two-step pattern, right? Oh, well, actually, in this case, it's a one-step pattern. It's not 2 steps to solve. But we still need to ask our question, all right? So our question in this would be, well, who moves? Who moves? All right, so in this case, the only number that needs to move, remember our first question is, who moves? And the only number that needs to move to maintain our nice pattern is the 33. Oh, that's nice. So we only have one step, okay? So what is the operation on that 33? Well, the operation is subtraction, and our inverse is addition, because of course the opposite of subtraction is addition. So that means we're going to have to add the 33 to both sides. All right, now we know that these two cancel out, leaving us with a beautiful q all by itself. And we know that 33 minus 14 will give us what? So when we set that up, 33 minus 14, borrow from the 3, make it a 2, have a 13, which will give us 9. 2 minus 1 is 1, so that gives us 19. So Q equals a positive 19. Alrighty, how does that feel? How does that feel? Good. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and try this problem. Pause the video, take out a sheet of paper, write this down, and work this out. Remember, look at your parentheses. Do you need to do anything on the inside of the parentheses, or do you need to multiply anything into the parentheses? All right, pause the video, work it out, and then I'm going to actually write the answer right next to it. I'm not going to work it out with you. I'm going to write the answer right next to it. All right, go ahead and do that. All right, so during your work, you should have gotten the answer y equals 7. Y equals 7. All right, if you didn't get that, don't worry. I will look at your work tomorrow and explain what exactly you might have gotten wrong or messed up on. All right, so try this next guy. Okay, don't forget to do the steps. All right, do the steps I showed you before. Remember, look inside the parentheses first. Make sure there's no work to do inside or nothing you need to multiply from the outside, and then do your steps. Now, the answer, I will, of course, write it on the side. Alrighty, so go ahead, pause the video, and do your work. Alrighty, you should have gotten the answer z equals 124. Alright, let's try one more. Let's try one more. Do this lovely right here. Alrighty, you should have gotten the answer p equals 9. Now, like I said, if anything, if any of these answers you do not get correct, first try to look through it. First try to look through it and see where you might have messed up. And if you just can't figure it out, don't worry. We will work on it when we get to class tomorrow. Alrighty? See you tomorrow.